been wanting to invest in a buy-to-let property, but you're a little bit worried about the hidden costs, what's going to come and bite you, you're not sure. Today I want to show you what the costs are of investing in a buy-to-let. My name's Abi Hookway. I've been investing for about 3.5 years. I've built up a £3 million portfolio that pays me every month. Property investing is awesome, so you're in the right place and you should definitely do it. But I get you, because we all have these fears and doubts, these little voices in our head. So let me take the mystery out of it for you and let me show you the true cost of investing in buy-to-let. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. So the first cost you're gonna have when you invest in buy-to-let is the deposit. How are you gonna buy the house? Now, for some of you that are a little bit more advanced in property, you'll understand the buy, refurb, refinance model, where you buy a house fully with cash, you refurb it, you add value, and then you get a bank to lend you a mortgage, you pull that cash out and you either put it back in your own pocket or maybe a private investor that's giving you it. But today, let's just focus on just buying a normal buy-to-let. So you've got the deposit. Now the deposit isn't like residential mortgages, because if it's for your own home, the banks will give you a 10% deposit. Sometimes the banks might even let you have a property for a 5% deposit. But when you're investing, it doesn't work like that. So for your properties that you are intending to put a tenant in, I normally buy mine through limited companies. It's gonna cost you more deposit. Now, there's two deposits you can have. You can have a 20% deposit and an 80% loan to value buy-to-let mortgage. Now, these 80% buy-to-let mortgage are a bit few and far between. There's not many banks that do it, and mostly they like lending to experienced property investors. So it's likely if you're starting to get your first buy-to-let, it's going to be a 25% deposit and a 75% loan to value mortgage. So to make this as simple as we can, if you're looking at a £100,000 buy-to-let, that means you're looking at a 25% deposit, which is 25,000. Or if you're lucky to get an 80% loan to value buy-to-let mortgage, you're looking at £20,000. But that's the most that you're going to pay in your deposit. The next thing you need to be aware about is stamp duty. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but there is a 3% surcharge on stamp duty for additional properties you will have. So that means if you're buying, again, a £100,000 house, you'd need to pay the stamp duty as if it was your own house, plus a 3% surcharge. So sometimes that trips people up. You can Google government stamp duty calculator, pop in your details there and it'll tell you the exact amount you're going to have to pay. The next cost is the cost of legal fees, because you're going to want a solicitor to help you buy this property, and you're going to want someone that's going to check and do all the searches and surveys, help do your mortgage paperwork. So solicitors' fees can vary. Typical charges for a buy-to-let are normally about £800, £900. So shop around, get some quotes, but what I would say is it's worth paying for a good solicitor. I've used my solicitors for the past 3 years. They're great, and because I use them every time and I don't haggle on price with them, I pay them what they're worth, they are great and they really protect me. So the next thing you need to think about is refurbishment costs. Now, even if you are buying a buy-to-let and you're just putting down the 25% deposit and you're not thinking about doing a big refurbishment, you're still going to need to do bits and pieces to get it ready for buy-to-let. So you're going to do stuff like the gas safety certificate needs doing, so you can legally and safely put a tenant in. The EPC, which is an energy performance certificate, you're going to need to get one done and check that your property meets the minimum required to be able to tenant. So the minimum at the minute is E or above, but you probably want to make sure it's D or above, because that's going to future-proof you, because the government will up the minimum to a D. But it's energy performance certificate. Get one for the property and it will tell you on it what areas that you can do for quick wins to increase that for your property, but that needs to be taken into account. You need the electrical certificate, so somebody needs to check all the electrics in the property and make sure it's safe for a tenant. You're also going to need to put smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in the property, and for legal lettings of the property you need to make sure it's fit and free from hazards. So for example, I've recently bought a property and it's not got any banister or spindles, and I'm about to rent this out and I don't want anyone to trip, to have accidents on the stairs. So is it fit for letting? Probably not. so I'm just having some spindles and a nice banister put in. So little things like that you're going to need to look for. You're also going to need to make sure the property's free of damp, mold, and it is safe for your tenant. Doing all of this as well will make sure you get a good quality tenant in there. What you don't want to do is buy a property, it's neglected, it's not right, and then run the risk of having a bad tenant, because they will treat the property how you treat the property. So but all that adds up, so you want to make sure you can crunch those costs and just make sure you've got it there. Plus, like I sometimes do, I'll give it a full decorate, new carpets, and job's a good one. The other thing you want to do, and you'll have to do this before you legally complete on the property, is get insurance. Now, if it's going to be a buy-to-let, you're going to want to insure the bricks and mortar of the property, and to make sure if something happens, you know, your insurance is covered, and you're going to need your landlord's insurance. So if anything happens to that tenant, you are covered, so that's important. Typically this ranges from about 25 to about 35-40 pound a month. Now, the other things that people don't consider when they're buying a property, and when I do my analysis and when I crunch the numbers for a buy-to-let property, I always look at void periods and maintenance costs. So I set aside 20% of the rent every month on those two things. So if the rent's £1,000 for easy numbers, you're going to set aside £200 just in case of rainy days or any maintenance. You can also get landlord's insurance, which will cover your boiler, cover anything breaking, so that you can get it fixed so it doesn't take a big chunk out of the money you're making. And lastly, the other hidden cost is time. Buy-to-let is very, very time efficient for your time, because you do the hard work once, you set it up, you make sure it's compliant, you get a good letting agency running it, pop a tenant in. Like so many of mine, I've not thought about in months. Tenant pays every month. It's so time efficient. Time's your most valuable asset. And investing in property and buy-to-let means you're buying the day you no longer have to be tied to your 9 to 5, genuinely. And remember, it's adding multiple income streams to your bow. Instead of just having your job, you've now got some money from a buy-to-let, and you've got some money from a more buy-to-let, etc. Now, I've just told you some of the hidden costs of buy-to-let, but I don't want that to put you off. Buy-to-let is awesome. I still invest in buy-to-let. In fact, I'm buying another one in 4 days' time. I love buy-to-lets, they're awesome, and I love just the passive income it gives you. And I also like being able to give people really nice, good homes and be a really conscious and good landlord. However, if you're thinking absolutely not, I like the idea of investing in property, but so put off about tenants or you've had a bad experience, maybe I can show you some other things that you might consider. Commercial property investing, those tenants are different, and normally they have 15-year tenancies, and it's a full repairing and insuring lease, an FRI lease, which means you basically give them the keys, they pay you every month, you don't need to do anything. Happy days. Or you could consider holiday lets. So instead of having tenants, you have guests that come and stay for a few nights and leave. So they're never in arrears, you're protected in case they damage something, and you get to make 4 or 5 times more than buy-to-let profit. And the last one is rent to buy, where you can buy a buy-to-let, and instead of you having to look after it or have all that stress, you put a tenant buyer in. The tenant buyer is going to buy it in 7 years, and during that 7 years, they're going to look after your property. You've got no voids, no maintenance, just rent, and a guaranteed sale price for what it's going to be worth in the future. So there are a few other things you should consider. Now, if you like the sound of that, I'm constantly running 2-day property investing seminar called Wealth Through Property. So if you like the idea of any of those, click the link in this description and come and see me for 2 full days. But I hope that's given you food for thought, and good luck on your buy-to-let investing journey. So if you've liked this video, smash the like button, make sure you subscribe, and I can't wait to see you next time.